The situation around Ukraine. Are we making any progress at all? Are there any shifts?
We've got some plans of our own.
Everyone understands everything.
It's year 4 of the so-called SMO and year 11 of the shelling of Donetsk.
That is why it is so predictable and understandable, so everything is absolutely clear.
Good afternoon, studio. I know you weren't expecting this twist from me, and maybe I should have warned you ahead of time to get the kids away from the screen, and frankly, anyone with a fragile nervous system too, because seeing Maria Zakharova on screen isn't something everyone can handle. But Putin has just awarded Maria Zakharova the Order for Merit to the Fatherland, 4th class.
I walk into the office and bam, this headline. Truly unbelievable. I'm deeply honored by this highest recognition.
And here's where you and I probably have the same question. What exactly did she do to deserve this? What kind of merit are we talking about here? So let's reflect on that a bit. First of all, let's be honest, her performance. I'd give it a solid C. Zakharova's entire career has been one long imitation of diplomacy.
Did they cut off the VGTRK broadcast?
There was none.
No, still on air. People are seeing me around the world. The Ukrainian crisis triggered a chemical reaction that sped up the building of a multipolar world, tore off all the masks, and now forces everyone to make a choice.
So yes, for that imitation, for being the best impersonator of diplomacy, she got her medal. For her outstanding contribution to Russian diplomacy. Or, to be more precise, for her remarkable ability to skillfully transform blatant lies into an intricate and highly polished new form of stage art that has become a hallmark of Russia's political culture. For her loose tongue, her fact-free mind, and her exceptional ability to speak endlessly for hours without ever managing to say a single concrete or meaningful thing, leaving nothing but empty words in her wake. For transforming foreign ministry briefings into an unfunny stand-up show. And, of course, for her valiant defense of the Russian version of truth in a world where, frankly, no one ever asked for it or needed it in the first place.
The tragedy of the Ukrainian people is that deep down, they want a president like Putin. But instead, they keep getting whoever the West gives them. They hate him, they outwardly hate him, and they are very aggressive towards Putin, precisely because they would like Putin to be their president.
That's one take. So apparently, those are the achievements that earned Maria her shiny new medal. And while Masha is busy admiring her shiny new order, here comes another not-so-funny stand-up act. You know, maybe we should just rename this program from Review of Russian Propaganda to Review of Unfunny Russian Stand-Up Comedy.
Let's start from the absolute basics. According to them, Ukraine, as a state, appeared on Russian territory during the Soviet era. No one even argues with that anymore. All earlier attempts to establish Ukrainian statehood before Soviet times were, as they say, unviable. And even during the USSR, Ukraine's statehood was purely symbolic, more decorative than real. Independence? Autonomy? No one even uttered those words back then. Secondly, they claim there was no such thing as a unified Ukrainian culture, or a distinct Ukrainian mentality. In fact, before World War II, the Soviet regime actually implemented a program of conscious Ukrainization. The idea was to beat the nationalists at their own game, showing that proletarian internationalism wasn't opposed to cultural diversity.
I think we'll stop there for now. This stand-up bit goes on for a while. And once again, apologies, there really should be a prominent on-screen banner here that reads, "Warning, alternate reality ahead." The creators bear no responsibility for any consequences resulting from pseudo-analytical storytelling or misleading narratives. That's roughly how it's supposed to go. Apparently, Ukraine emerged on the territory of Russia back in Soviet times, when, as you might recall, Russia itself didn't even exist yet. Honestly, if I played you the rest of this fragment, you'd hear Solovyov getting so carried away with his historical summary that he actually quoted Hitler. Which, in today's context, shouldn't surprise anyone. Putin is, after all, the Hitler of our time. Let's follow the logic here. He claims Ukraine emerged on Russian land, even though that land was the Soviet Union at the time. That's like claiming that since Troy was built on Greek territory, it must therefore be considered a Greek city, despite the fact that it was its own distinct civilization with its own identity. Makes sense, right? Or better yet, let's do a little analogy. Think of Ukraine, with its rich Kiev and Rus heritage, as a majestic dinosaur. And Russia. Russia is the paleontologist who discovers the ancient bones and then boldly claims to have created the entire dinosaur, despite having no role in its true origins. And where, you might wonder, do they get all this alternate version of history from, you ask? How do they manage to construct such a distorted narrative? From childhood, of course. Because nowadays in Russia, kids grow up watching variety shows that teach them about the artistry of Shaman and Gazmanov. How could the young, impressionable minds fail to absorb the kinds of ideas that ultimately shape them into becoming the next Solovyov, spreading the same kind of rhetoric?
Pyongyang, is it the capital of North or South Korea?
North Korea.
Correctly. Who participated in the Crimean War, receiving awards for Sevastopol's defense, Tolstoy or Mendeleev? Do you like Shaman?
Yes.
Why? Is it his singing or what?
I mostly like that he sings patriotic songs.
You like patriotic songs?
Yes.
Which Lermontov poem are these lines from? Can foreign commanders tear off uniforms while Russian bayonets silent? Who performs Squadron of My Reckless Thoughts and also does acrobatic tricks on stage? Squadron of My Reckless Thoughts. Who's that?
A stuntman.
No, Gazmanov.
You've got to know Gazmanov. Learn your basic training, kids. And where do these kids come from? Let's talk about that too. Because that's now one of the hottest topics across Russian broadcasts and legislation. How to make women give birth more often, in greater numbers, and with a smile on their face.
A strong, happy family isn't good for state.
Oh my God.
Here's a simple example. A man returns home to his wife, who complains about her boss. He understands she needs emotional support, not a solution. He hugs her, saying, "It's okay, you'll get through this." She makes him dinner and after dinner he fixes the faucet. But if the relationship is bad and she complains about her boss, he doesn't understand she needs support and tries to fix her instead. She calls him stupid, and they fight. He goes to a cafe, she calls a plumber and a therapist. In the end, all these actions lead to GDP growth, more tax revenue, more money moving around and so on. In a strong, stable family, everything stays internal, no money leaves. But if they can't communicate, they create a system of transactions, spending money and boosting the GDP. It's profitable to keep families broken, as it also breaks communication.
So, ever since Russia made the decision to intervene in matters of families and birth rates, everything has been heading straight for disaster. The number of divorces has skyrocketed across the country, and, as a natural consequence, the birth rate has seen a sharp decline, further exacerbating the situation. And it seems like you're conveniently overlooking one crucial yet little-known fact. The war is actually taking place on Russian territory, not somewhere else. Which means, there's simply no one left to give birth. Because the men have been sent off to fight and die in Ukraine. And, as of now, they haven't started importing new ones from China to replace them. Yet. And I want to stress that, yet. There are also ongoing discussions within Russia about the potential consequences of artificial intelligence replacing half of all government officials, and what that could mean for the future of the country's political system.
To be honest, I'm not trying to play the role of some kind of evangelist here. We're just simple people, civil servants.
Simple people, civil servants. Oh, you precious gem. Simple people, civil servants. You look at him and think, this one, he's the salt of the earth. Just look at him.
I can only say one thing. As the classic Jobs once said about personal computers, they're like a bicycle for the mind. I think artificial intelligence is like upgrading the bicycle to something much more powerful, say, a Formula One car. But it's just a tool. Hopefully it won't replace people, especially doctors, teachers or civil servants. Personally, I believe it could replace at least half the bureaucrats. Maybe even more.
Yeah, he might be one of those it could replace. Here's the thing. I decided to ask AI what would happen if Russia were run by artificial intelligence. And here are some of the responses. Instead of daily briefings, system updates. Today at 10 a.m., the corruption protocol has been updated. Version 2.0, now without kickbacks. Bureaucracy becomes instant. Your request for approval is granted before you even submit it. Because the AI already knows what you're going to ask, and it also knows you still won't get anything. The government runs on Windows XP, with Lavrov's face on the desktop. Whenever the system crashes, it automatically says, "You misunderstood everything." The West is the aggressor. That error, or the blue screen, we used to see from time to time on Windows. News is generated by GPT Kiselev. Ukraine attacked itself, with support from NATO, under the direction of CIA-powered AI, in an attempt to destroy the Russian spirit. Then there's the Ministry of Truth. Now running real software. Fact-checking is banned, because there is only one truth. And it was generated by GPT Putin. A fully digital vertical of power. Data doesn't flow from the bottom up, because no one asks anyone at the bottom. All commands come from above, delivered via the Telegram bot ZAR 2000 bot. During elections, artificial intelligence votes for everyone. It counts the votes itself. It announces the result itself. 146% voted for Putin. Progress. If someone needs to be imprisoned, they're simply deleted from the user database. Navalny not found. Please try again in 9 years. And the best part, AI doesn't need a salary. Although it does already have an offshore cryptocurrency, called Rupee, backed not by market value, but by faith. And the grand finale. Over time, the AI realizes the whole system defies logic. It throws up an error, error 404, common sense not found. And it shuts itself down, because even a machine can't withstand Russian reality. These are the kinds of ideas artificial intelligence is offering us, AI that's ready to start governing Russia, but says it won't last long either, because not even artificial intelligence can handle it. It has no emotions, and it doesn't accept or isn't exactly compatible with the so-called Russian truth, or even the Ukrainian truth. It simply exists within digital formality, within the digital network. And even in that form, it admits it can't withstand everything that's being said in Russia. And yet, here we are, enduring it.
Witkoff returned from St. Petersburg with positive impressions, based on his talks with the American media. What about you? What's your take?
It was a good conversation. We touched on a range of topics, both political and economic. Naturally, the situation around Ukraine was the main focus.
Are we moving anywhere at all? Is there any progress?
Around Ukraine, from which exact direction are we talking about? Perhaps from Poland's side, or maybe from Hungary's. Could it be from Slovakia's border? Or maybe from our Baltic partners? From which side, exactly, did you discuss the situation in Ukraine?
Are we getting closer?
I'd say the appropriate signals were conveyed through Witkoff.
What kind of signals? How many dots and dashes? What kind of pauses? Did it sound like an SOS signal or something else entirely?
I believe those signals are already being discussed in Washington.
Are we nearing a bilateral meeting between the leaders, or is it too soon to say?
It's fair to discuss, it's on everyone's lips.
What else would we talk about, really? Of course.
I'd say no specific dates have been agreed yet. Not even the location, though some are floating Riyadh as a possibility, particularly our American colleagues.
There are also whispers that Washington and Moscow might be discussing resuming direct air travel. Any truth to that?
Resuming the suspension of air travel. What a sentence. Resuming the suspension. I can't even repeat that properly.
So, no actual movement there either?
The topic came up during some contacts, particularly through Dmitriev, as far as I know. But the Americans still believe that any steps forward depend on progress on the Ukrainian track, and only then.
Ukrainian track? What do you mean, Ukrainian track? Is there a separate Russian track too? I thought there was only one war, the one where Russia invaded Ukraine and unleashed a conflict of unprecedented scale. That's it, this is the only track that exists, not some separate Russian track or separate Ukrainian track. And here is this break, when the Russian alternative reality collides with reality in its living form.
Here's a story from Donetsk. In the 4th year of the special military operation, someone suddenly noticed that, right in the center of the city, a local cafe was covered in portraits of Yusik.
Frankly, that's something to be proud of.
Portraits of Yusik, signed autographs, his favorite meals and cocktails on the menu. Some local residents came in, asked the owner about it, he kicked him out. Only when law enforcement arrived did he realize the problem and took it all down. That's the 4th year of the SMO and the 11th year of Donetsk under shelling.
And whose portraits were supposed to be hanging there, excuse me? Shoigu's, Gerasimov's, Wagner Group's. Whose exactly?
It's because we don't have laws. None. I'm getting back on my favorite horse again. In other words, this is allowed, it's not prohibited. Everyone's welcome. The day after they buried Alexander Fedorchik in Crimea, his grave was set on fire. Is there a law here that would sentence someone to life imprisonment for something like that?
And what right did he have to be in Crimea? Who was he there, that you decided to bury him there? Why didn't you take his remains to Russia? Why did you decide to leave them in Crimea?
There's no punishment for desecrating the graves of special military operation participants. It's classified as hooliganism. I shared the story about Donetsk and how the systematic work with youth on ideological rewiring was halted. Everyone saw this on social media and immediately learned about the person, the drug addict who died. The funerals in Moscow were crowded, but that was just the start. A public organization is running a major project, the total dictation in Russia. I started investigating after an incident in St. Petersburg, where a former drug addict read the dictation at a university and held a minute of silence for a technician who died from drugs, not for the heroes of the special military operation. In Leningrad, we could have had a minute of silence for the fallen on the 80th anniversary of victory.
You know, he keeps talking, and I keep thinking about the word rewiring. So they are truly discussing the idea of changing the minds of the new generation, essentially rewiring them, giving them entirely new directives, altering their perception of reality, and replacing fundamental concepts with something else entirely. This is being said out loud. And then we wonder why songs by Shaman and Yesor are now being included in new educational programs, where, in the past, students were simply tested on who could demonstrate the most knowledge. Now it turns out, they're checking who knows Russian pop music by heart. And separately as well.
First of all, you have to be an idiot to give an interview to the program 60 Minutes.
Hello, Vladimir Vladimirovich. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
That seems to be the kind of idiot.
A huge thanks for this opportunity.
That's the problem. This unfortunate man's situation is fully explained in psychiatry. That's why he's so predictable, so foreseeable. That's why.
Did Solovyov drink too much of brave water or what?
Everything is absolutely clear.
Then I want to ask the question. What kind of world do we want, if Russia won't be part of it?
Badly educated.
We're not going to collapse anymore. It's clear to us and to them. No, we got on that track, and we'll keep going. Let it burn.
Deeply unhappy.
We were deceived. We were deceived. They fooled us again.
Always searching for love and recognition.
Hello, hello, you look like me.
We all look alike.
But incredibly jealous of everyone.
We talk about Euro integration and European orientation. Why? Because the economy is developing well there, and people live well. And we want to live like that.
But from that moment, nothing has changed. In 25 years, have you noticed?
A short, unattractive man. Who once managed to get close to the oligarchs.
I've known Boris Abramovich for a long time. He's impatient, always appointing and dismissing people. Let him work.
And he always dreamed, you know, not through the back door. And now he's taking revenge on everyone. A terrible complex. And he's so rude, so insensitive, that he even manages to contradict himself every time.
Your humble servant did not change this constitution for his own benefit, left the most important state post, and moved to a more modest position. I've always followed the constitution of the Russian Federation, which prevented me from being elected 3 times. I intend to stick to this rule. I have never changed the constitution. I didn't do it, especially for myself, and I don't have any plans to do so today. Today, a number of political public associations are raising the issue of adopting a new constitution. I want to respond immediately. I believe there's no need for this. I'll repeat, these changes are necessary and will benefit the country, society, and citizens.
You know, I truly appreciate these videos that confirm Solovyov's words because they perfectly capture and reflect everything that is currently unfolding in Russian politics. And of course, these videos serve to demonstrate to the world how every word that comes out of Solovyov's, Peskov's, Zakharova's, and Skabyev's mouths is essentially nullified, multiplied by zero. All their relentless attempts, all their efforts to manipulate and convince the world that everyone around them is somehow wrong or evil, while they themselves remain the supposed champions of truth, are in vain. It's as if they are a balloon. Each time they try to divide or multiply by zero, they only end up becoming zero, completely null and void in the process. It used to be incredibly difficult for us to push back against Russian propaganda back in 2014, but now, with far more freedom and flexibility, we have the ability to easily insert any relevant fragments. After all, there are countless examples from over 25 years of Putin's rule, and we can now easily show a new episode of Putin's actions for every single word spoken by Solovyov. You know, I know a song for every word. Well, it's because of my work on the radio, and we have a video with Putin for every word of Solovyov. Don't thank us. If you need it for air, ask, request. We will definitely prepare it for you, do it, and provide it.
The man, Musk, who lives in the United States, is someone who can truly be said to be dreaming of Mars. People like him are incredibly rare within the human population. They are driven by a particular vision or idea. Even if, at this moment, such a vision may seem unbelievable, over time, ideas like his often come to life and become a reality, don't they?
Do you think he's praising those students? No, he's talking about Elon Musk, about how such people don't often appear on this planet, so they should be protected, cherished, and nurtured. And of course, all of this happens against the backdrop of Trump having fallen out with Musk. Trump doesn't like that Musk continues to do business with China, on which Trump constantly tries to impose higher and higher tariffs. And here's Putin, who's spreading butter all over the wood and licking Musk's bright head. Of course, I understand he's inviting him to stay with him. So Elon, get ready. You love Russia so much. Your parents love Russia so much. Your brother loves Russia so much. Loving Russia from across the ocean is one thing. But try loving Russia on the territory of Russia itself. That's what we wish you. Thanks to everyone who was with me during this review of the unfunny stand-up on Russian territory. And of course, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.